Welcome to the Hog's Die, your unofficial leading source for all things Redskins and the NFL. If you participated in the NFL Scouting Combine anytime between now and 2004, your medical information may have been compromised. A laptop containing medical reports on thousands of players was stolen from a Redskins trainer's car, and we're going to talk about that. Redskins left tackle Trent Williams probably needs a medical report after a video surfaced of him doing pull-ups with a 90-pound fanny pack. News in today is he wasn't pulling himself up so much as he was pulling the entire earth down. Then, hold on to your foam fingers and cool beers, because we'll be breaking down the defensive backs today. Plus, Nietzsche said God is dead, and now in 2016, Joe Barry says nose tackles are dead. Yikes. We got our game. We got our listener poll. It's a packed show. We're ready to get to it, so stick around for the Hog's Die.
Welcome to the Hog's Die with Sean Conti, Robbie Duncan, Steve Thomas, and Alex Zeese. Now, here's Sean.
All right, and we're back. Glad to have you here with us again on another beautiful Saturday. My name's Sean Conti, and the Hog's Die crew is here. What's up, Steve Thomas?
While I was waiting for you guys, I was just doing some Trent Williams pull-ups. Here in my gym, my home gym here. Yeah, had the 90-pound weight strapped to my waist, cranked out 8 or 9 of them, made Trent look silly.
Yeah, we got to talk about that. yeah, exactly. That just does not seem like a sound exercise to do, but we'll talk about that later. What do you think, Mr. Robbie Duncan?
Man, I don't think I could do that. I barely can do 5 on my own. I probably maybe be able to churn out 1 or barely 1. So. I don't know.
That's the thing.
He's a freak.
What is
He's
his
a freak.
weight? What is his natural weight? Do we
He's
know?
like 325. So you add
325.
90 to that.
So he was
So he's
putting up
basically,
415 or so. 410,
God,
415.
It does need to be said, though, in all fairness, he was using a lot of legs to do those pull-ups.
But you can kind of know that the camera did not go down. That's kind of true.
He wasn't bouncing off the ground, though.
No, but he was. You know how
No.
when you do pull-ups,
Yeah.
you kick your legs up to get you some momentum.
Well, when I was doing mine this morning, it was all upper body strength.
oh, okay.
Right. Steve keeps his back rigid,
Yeah.
ramrod straight.
He's still,
just lifts
he's still got a lot
purely
of work
with his
out of
biceps.
out of those reps.
Well, and
Even if
in his
wasn't
last
a true
rep,
pull-up.
yeah, when his last rep, really, I think he could have done more. He just kind of stopped more than anything.
He pussed out. Let's be honest, guys.
Well,
he pussed out.
You
big
don't
time.
want to pull anything,
Yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to. Though I gotta say, if you don't want to pull something, probably doing pull-ups with 90 pounds around your waist is not a good
That was
idea.
like the
But anyways,
craziest exercise I've ever seen, honestly.
Yeah.
it's not quite as crazy as Bryce Harper jumping on that yoga ball and doing what was he doing? He was doing
Squats.
overhead press or squats. Is that what he's doing? He jumped on it
Yeah,
on,
he's
on a
doing
yoga
Squats on
ball.
a yoga ball?
Yeah, with actual weight. Like
balance.
you're gonna fall and break your neck, bro. Come on, man. I don't
some
know. What do you think,
serious
Mr.
balance.
Alex Zeese?
Nothing will break Bryce Harper. So,
We didn't get a chance to say hi to you, Alex Zeese. What's up, man?
well, yeah. Hi.
Anything new happened this past week in your life?
Well, my computer broke last weekend, and
Rip.
I built a website for us, and
I revamped the website, you should say.
I rebuilt the website for us.
Reinvigorated it with some life. Love it.
Yeah. Nothing really.
Well, guys, before we get started, I'll tell you something funny that happened to me this past week. I was running into Roy Rogers, okay, and there's a guy going in ahead of me, and he kind of does that thing.
First
where,
off, hold on.
what'd you say?
I'm applauding Roy
Oh,
Rogers.
you can barely find him anymore, but there's
They
a
don't
couple
have them in
sprinkled
my
around.
part of the country anymore. So I've been Roy Rogers
No.
deficient for years.
There's like 2 right
So
there in
good.
There are a
Lewisburg,
couple in Maryland now.
in North
Yeah,
Virginia.
they're sprinkled around Virginia more than they are around
yeah,
here. There's one up in
the people
Burtonsville.
the people who don't live in D.C. anymore, are going to think you literally ran into the corpse of Roy Rogers. So let's explain that it is a fast food chain on the East Coast.
Let's be clear. Yes, I was running
It
into
was
a fast food
the
chain.
fast food chain of the 80s on the East
Oh,
Coast.
it's delicious. You got burgers, you got chicken, you got biscuits. It's good stuff. But anyways, I'm running in there. There's a guy ahead of me. He's going in, and he kind of does a thing where he puts his arm out. He holds the door open for me. And I
Nice.
thought it would be funny to say, Hodor. Because, hold the door, right? So I'm like, Hodor. Let me tell you something, guys.
Nice.
Game of Thrones has not permeated all of our society. There are
Did he
still
think
many
you were
people
crazy?
that will look at you like you are legitimately retarded for saying something like that. And that's what happened. So that's what happened to me.
awesome.
Be careful with your Game of Thrones references.
that's a
They can
shame.
be pretty obscure. Yeah. But But anyways, let's get to it, guys. Shit, what's our first topic for the day? Should we talk about this medical
Don't forget,
record
so you
situation?
blew this thing last time, Sean. You got to remember, follow the agenda.
I know. This is a problem. Usually good at this. I was off my game last time, but we're gonna be better. Let's talk about this medical record issue situation.
I'm just glad I didn't get caught.
Are you the guy?
I was the guy.
Oh man. So
now.
what's your plan with this?
I'm going to sell them.
You're gonna sell the NFL player medical records. Here's the thing.
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah, so much blackmail can be done with that.
Well, so that's the thing. I mean, it's likely that whoever stole the laptop wasn't trying to steal that.
It was likely they wanted
right?
a laptop.
They wanted the laptop.
Yeah.
So is it possible that they're going to get this file or whatever? They're not even going to know
Well, it's on a
what it
secure.
is.
The Redskins said that the medical records themselves weren't at risk because it's whatever encryption system they used. Password system wasn't compromised, and so there's no way. If you notice in the Redskins statement, they were very, very careful to put out that there was no HIPAA violation.
Right.
Did you notice that? And for those of you who don't know,
Yeah,
HIPAA is
yeah.
a federal law that governs the control and use of medical records by medical professionals, and that's an easy way for everybody to get in trouble. And so they said, the laptop got stolen, but we pinky swear that there was no compromise, and so there's no HIPAA problem. So federal government, please don't come after us.
Is it a hippo problem?
HIPAA.
Oh,
HIPPA.
So there's
The hippo problem would be Terrence Knighton.
Or Albert Haynesworth.
Yeah.
So I guess if there's no HIPAA violations,
That's
if they're
just what
being
the Redskins said. mind
right,
you.
if they're being honest about that,
There is a
then
HIPAA problem because the laptop disappeared and had the records on it. It's just a
well,
matter
but
of
do we
like,
know, that's my question is, do we know specifically if that record is just physical results, like combine results and that kind of thing, or is it actually like medical
it's a medical
conditions?
record. It's
it
their
really
medical
is
records.
like.
Yeah.
So then, then how
Yeah.
could they come out and say that it's not a HIPAA
because they
violation?
claim
That seems like a bold-faced lie.
the whatever the security system is on the medical records, application that
protected.
they use was protected and not compromised. That's why.
And that is enough to say it's
Well, that's enough for them to claim it.
Take our word for us. It's
Interesting.
Yeah.
protected.
Now, if they could get the
Trust us on this.
Yeah, I mean,
They're going with the absence of
We got
evidence
this.
kind of thing. You can't prove that because the thing's
right.
stolen.
I mean, and who
so-
knows
That's
what
true.
some computer geek out there could break into. We don't know
Right.
that.
Anonymous.
Yeah.
So, if the worst case scenario occurs and all of this information somehow gets out, are we looking at a situation where every single player who had medical information in this report could sue the Redskins?
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put it past them to do it.
Well, it
I mean-
depends. I mean, it's possible, yes. But listen, to have a lawsuit, you
Keep
have
your
to have-
laptops on you if you're a Redskins staff member. Jesus, don't leave
Well,
that
first
shit
off,
in the car.
he was in a Waffle House type diner, and so he just needed to get his pancake
That's his
on.
first
Are you
problem.
serious?
That's his first problem. Don't go to Waffle House.
Yeah. Well,
That's
no,
like-
it wasn't Waffle House. It was a diner
Type
place.
If you
that
okay, but still, if you don't want your car broken into, don't go to a Waffle House type place. I mean, that's like asking for it. That's
But-
you got the
yeah.
the
You'll never
chaff
find
of
a more
society
wretched
that
hive
hangs at
of
a Waffle
scum
House.
and villainy.
just don't leave your laptop in your car if you're not going to be in there. That's
Well,
basic.
listen. Here's the
Seriously.
thing. I mean, to have any lawsuit, you have to have damages, right? Now, I don't know. I'm not a HIPAA expert, okay, and I haven't looked into it at all. And there may be some, statutory damages that, by federal law, if they lose a record, there's a cause of action, and this is the damage. But in absence of that, I would wonder straight off the top of my head. And again, I mean, don't quote me on this, but I would wonder if there's no real damage unless somebody uses the medical record in a way that's inappropriate, or at least damage that's significant enough to have a lawsuit.
Right.
And so, if a medical record containing a guy's knee problem gets released to some computer nerd, and the computer nerd posts it online, is that enough to have some NFL team not hire him? Okay, in that case, there's damages. Does HIPAA say, there's a cause of action, you can make $50,000 automatically every time your record is stolen? I don't know. So the question would be what damages result from the loss of the records?
Right, and that actually brings up an interesting point. So, if the concern is that the release of the information might hurt a player's chances of staying in the NFL or whatever, my question is, what is the nature of this report? Do we know? Is this a report that every kind of trainer and scout has access to? Because it's all the players who participated in the combine for 12 years, basically.
Well,
so
that's what it sounded like to
Well,
me.
my guess is that every team probably has the same records. 'cause
So then it might be a stretch then to say that this would really hurt a player's
Right.
chances if every team has this information already.
that is correct. Because like player X, let's say our very own Robbie Duncan, goes to the combine, and Robbie, you said you had like a knee sprain one point in time, right?
Herniated disc.
Okay, well, they're herniated disc, and so when Robbie gets evaluated by the Vikings and the Redskins and the Giants, and so they're all going to acquire the records from Robbie's herniated disc treatment, whatever it was. You don't need to talk about it; it doesn't matter. You went to a doctor and he did something. That's going to be in a record, and all three of those teams that talked to him are going to have that same record. And so
Right.
the odds are likely that most of the teams have most of these records for all of these players already.
Right.
And so it's not
yeah,
like
I mean,
Robbie's herniated disc is going to be hidden from the Vikings, but the Giants are going to have it. They're going to know that. All
Right.
the teams are going to know about everything.
Right. So
it's
it
more
might
just
be
like the statutory problem where the medical professionals cannot lose these records.
Right.
Baskin Robbins always finds out.
It's not really a case of like these players aren't going to get hired by a team because the Redskins released the record, because everybody already knows about it anyway.
Well, and this all happened way back when in Indianapolis, and we're just now kind of finding out about it. That's the thing that's weird to me.
Oh, did it really?
Well,
'Cause
that's
this is
just when the media found out about it. The
Yeah.
Redskins obviously
Well, you know
knew
what I mean.
immediately what had happened, because the guy no doubt reported to the team that his laptop was stolen. And they probably had to disclose to the players, we lost your records, would be my guess.
That laptop was sold for meth, months ago. At this
Seriously,
It's
dude,
in
I
a
was
pawn
going to say.
shop in Southeast DC right now.
Yeah, probably with a wiped
point.
hard
Well,
drive.
again, it was stolen in Indianapolis, so I doubt it.
It's in a
Southeast
pawn
DC.
shop in Indianapolis. Then
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. I agree with you, Alex.
Yeah.
It's probably sitting in a pawn shop, wiped hard drive. It's blank, it's empty. So this is much ado, probably about nothing. But still, don't go to Waffle House and leave expensive shit in your car.
yeah,
you
it's sitting
dunce.
right next to the Clinton email server. Somewhere.
Zinger.
Yeah.
Watch out, Hillary. We're coming for you here on the Hogs
Hopefully.
Time. All right. Well, unless you guys have any groundbreaking further thoughts on that, let's move on then.
Yeah.
Medical records are overrated.
Yeah. Okay. So what's next up here?
Can I
we
interject
got,
something real fast?
Yeah,
This
please
wasn't on the
do.
agenda, but just real fast. The
about
Tom
Joe
Brady
Barry.
lawsuit turns on. All what was in the news.
I was
saga.
dying to hear this, by the way.
Well, yeah, what was in the news is that Brady has filed a motion with the appellate court to have the appellate court hear his appeal, what's called en banc, which is a Latin term for all the justices hear it all at once. What happened before was a panel of 3 heard it. And so if he gets his way and the justices grant his motion, they will rehear the appeal en banc in front of all 9 of the justices.
Oh,
Okay,
bonk.
en banc. That's
right.
what happened. So and so there was a bunch of like Mike Florio PFT article. Mike Florio hates the NFL, league office. In case you guys don't know, hates it. And
I don't even think Mike Florio enjoys the game.
I don't either.
I think he
I
just,
hate Mike Florio.
Yeah.
Mike Florio, if you're listening, I think you're an idiot. But anyway, and so Florio wrote a couple posts about how there were a bunch of amicus briefs filed. Amicus is a friend of the court. And what happened was Brady's lawyers went to a bunch of, they went to the AFL-CIO attorney. They found a very prominent mediator, or arbitrator rather, and they had them submit some briefs to the court, in support of their motion to rehear the case en banc. That's what happened. And just the conclusion of this is that it's very rare, very, very rare when an appellate court will have an en banc hearing, a rehearing. So the odds are stacked against him. Every step you go higher up in the appellate chain, it gets more rare and more rare that they'll agree. So now we wait, but the odds are stacked against him.
Well, this is
So-
a special case. Obviously,
Not really. It's
deflated
special to
footballs
us.
is the most important
Yeah.
issue that our society
Listen,
faces
we
nowadays.
have,
It's
Yeah.
special to us. It's
like
not-
this
forget
guy's trying to
killing
overturn his death sentence, but let's focus on the
forget
football
killing a
sport.
gorilla in the zoo. Forget the billboards of Apocalypse choking Mystique and the violence against women.
Right.
Deflated footballs are more important.
Yeah, I mean, it's
We gotta talk
obviously
about that
important to
before.
us, and the Mike Florios of the world just hate the fact that the NFL put one over on Tom Brady, and according to him, but the appellate court works on its own schedule, and they don't really
Yep.
particularly think the NFL is more important than anybody else normally. So
This whole thing is really interesting, Steve. It sounds like your professional legal opinion is this is not going to go well for Brady.
well,
And
I mean, I
it's-
haven't read the briefs. Okay, I'm just saying
no, I know.
from a general perspective, the odds are against.
Yeah.
Because there's 2 steps, right? You know, if he wins this motion, all he gets is another hearing. That doesn't mean the court's opinion
Doesn't guarantee him a win.
Right.
Sure.
This is just a motion to have him listen again, and you know, so it's the odds are against that, and then the odds are more against them that they're going to change their minds.
It's just weird because I feel like this whole saga has gone back and forth so many times. Sometimes it seemed like there was a time not too long ago. It seemed like Brady was certainly going to win this, and the suspension was overturned or whatever.
Listen, I told you guys when it happened that the opinion that what the trial court did was very unusual. He went contrary to prevailing law, and it was going to get overturned on appeal, and I was right.
Yeah, just weird. It's just a whole weird saga. But, anyways, okay. So, can anybody? The other piece of news that came out this past week is Joe Barry had somewhat of a interesting quote, I could say. So he says the nose tackle position is dead. Can anybody contextualize this for me and explain what he's talking about?
Yes,
Please do.
I can. Basically, we are never in a 3-4 base package anymore. We'll do it like
Right.
15% of the time, if that, like 15 to 20 snaps. And that's all you really need a nose guard for. And that's like those first downs when you know they're most likely going to run the ball. And then after that, they're in their base nickel package. It's the 4-2-5, whatever you want to call it. It's 4 down D linemen, 2 linebackers, and then the rest are DBs, however you want to mix it. So and that's the way it is. It's a passing league. You don't need a nose guard that can't rush the passer, and you only need him for every so often to stop the run and
Third and
Yeah.
short.
Well,
and
yeah,
things
and
like
if you
that.
look at the game stats, and like I do, the stats of it, Terrence Knighton's plays per game tracked with what you just said. He never got more
Right.
than 10, 15 plays a game, and that was it at most.
Right.
And which is why his
Now,
stats
he
stunk,
was
too.
he was useful to have in a couple of those
Right, of
plays,
course.
but I mean, you can replace the production without spending $5 million.
like I've said before early in the week, I mean, the age of the tweener is upon us. They don't need they want guys that are versatile, that can do it all. They aren't just, boom, I'm a 1 to 2 down run stopper and then I come off the field on 3rd down. They need guys that can do it all so they can interchange and mix and match and sub guys in and out that there isn't a drop off in what they can do. You know what I'm saying? Like Sua Cravens, he's the perfect example. We drafted him because he's a tweener. He's a strong safety hybrid with a bit of a linebacker in him. You need guys that can do it all, and
so to have a Terrence Knighton on the roster is kind of a waste of roster space, in the same way that having a dedicated fullback in our offense was a waste of space because
Exactly.
they just don't use a fullback
I think-
more than a few plays a game.
and that's what
I mean, that's the position that Barry compared it to.
and that's what
He said no one uses a fullback.
and that's what Niles Paul is for us. He's a tweener. He's our
Yeah.
hybrid fullback / tight end guy now. He's going to be playing some fullback here and there.
Yeah, I think the jury's still out on Joe Barry, because I wasn't that impressed with our all we really did last year was trade a horrific pass defense for a horrific run defense. We didn't really
amen to that.
improve overall. They scored a few less points on us, but the defense wasn't really
They
any
scored
better.
like 50 less
The
points
defense
on
wasn't
us,
really
man.
any
It wasn't a
better
few.
though. I mean, we just gave
Overall.
up. Yeah, overall, we just gave up less passing yards and gave up a whole lot more running yards. But I do support the idea that we're not locked into a 3-4. And if we can get back just the history of the Redskins, we all remember the 4-3. But the truth of the matter is, I think our defense would be better if we had the personnel to mix and match and disguise our defensive formations and coverages.
That's why we didn't draft these, those Alabama defensive tackles that are just run stoppers.
4-3 guys, 4-3
Yeah.
run
Right.
stoppers. Yeah.
They're true
They're
defensive
true
tackles
defensive
who
tackles
play
that
in a
only stop
traditional.
the run and are not pass rushers.
I mean, you were
need-
right about that. We all got suckered into a couple of those guys, Raglan and who was the other guy?
Reed.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
kept telling us, Robbie, that they weren't the players for us, and you
like
proved to be right.
the dude from Florida. I can't remember his name all of a sudden. The defensive lineman from Florida that got picked up by what was the team? He got picked up by the. Anyway, there was the Florida defensive lineman was more like what we were looking for a defensive lineman. Versatile, can move them all around the line, and he's good at getting in the backfield and generating pass pressure and run stopping pressure. So that's why we didn't get any of those run stoppers, and that's why we drafted Matt Ioannidis, because he's actually a pretty decent pass rusher, or underrated pass rusher compared to add along to his run stopping ability.
I've seen a bunch of articles about Ioannidis, by the way. It seems like a lot of people find him to think he's going to be a hidden gem for us. Excuse me. So it sounds like Joe Barry, while the jury may still be out, it sounds like his quote as far as nose tackles go is completely jives with the current consensus in the NFL. So there you have it, folks.
Well, I actually think we're a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of this whole notion of finding tweener guys, as many as we can.
Well,
the Cravens, the Jarretts, and all that.
That was the other question.
Chris Baker's the same way.
Yeah, there's versatility. Do we know how many teams roll with a pure, straight-up nose tackle more than 50% of the time? I mean, or around at least 50% of the time? Does anybody do that, really?
There's a handful of them.
Handful of them here or there?
The Texans have Wolford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
So
I think if you have that exceptional level talent,
then you can roll.
Would you call B.J. Raji with the Packers a true nose tackle?
He plays defensive end a lot.
When the Steelers had Casey Hampton, he was playing a ton.
Yeah.
He was one of the best nose tackles in the game at that point.
Well, who was the big guy that got Sheldon? Danny Sheldon? It was from the 2015. Was that his name? From the 2015 draft, we were talking about. He's a true nose tackle. I can't remember who drafted him, but
the
somebody
Browns did.
Browns? Okay, so the Browns are using him as a true nose tackle to some extent or another.
Makes sense. All right, well, interesting. I mean, it makes total sense. And, yeah, I mean, if we can be ahead of the curve on versatility, I mean, that makes total sense. I think, Alex, you hit the nail on the head. If you have that upper-level talent, why not roll with it? But otherwise, you're probably better suited going with versatility and guys who can do more than just that.
Well, you got to build a defense around a couple studs, and your playmakers should determine how you're building your defense, not your coach's philosophy. So,
right.
Well, it's like it's like any team. If you have the the '80s Showtime Lakers, you can run one offense because you are better than everyone else, right? If you have the '91 Redskins, well, you can run your offense and not worried about trying to trick anybody. Or like the '83 Redskins, the running game was better than anybody else in the league. You have John Riggins. Let's just run over him.
Right.
Yeah, literally just call the same three plays over
like
and over and over.
Joe Jacoby told us, how many times in a row did they run at Dallas in the '83 NFC Championship game? If you have that kind of personnel, you can do it. But
it's kind of. Sorry,
I just said if you don't, you have to do a bunch of different things to trick people. And that's most teams.
Right.
It's kind of turning into a cat and mouse type thing. With defenses turning into this hybrid, versatile, pass happy defenses. I mean, what's to stop offenses to, turning back to the old school power running game to counter this faster, smaller defense? You know what I mean?
I mean, hasn't the NFL always been that kind of though?
It goes in circles. You go from big wide receivers. And you have big wide receivers, and so the teams will get bigger cornerbacks to counter, to play with the bigger wide receivers, and the counter to that is to find small, fast guys who can run past the big corners, and then you go back to having bigger wide receivers who can play with the big corners. I mean, it goes in circles. It's a never-ending
feedback loop.
Yeah,
the old '60s power running led to good defenses that could stop it, which led to the Air Coryell offense, which led to another adjustment to the defense, which led to the West Coast. That's how it always
We could
happens.
be going back to that starting next year. I mean, because you look at next year's draft, there is a buttload of talent, of top tier talent at running back. You got what's Dalvin Cook from Florida State and the dude from Stanford. Not to mention,
he looks insane. By the way, I don't know if that's just the level of offense or level of teams they play. That running back in Stanford looked crazy last year.
I can't remember all of a sudden, but he's really good. I like him a lot. But then there's also Leonard Fournette from LSU. There's a lot of talent next year, and it could easily switch right back to this power running scheme to counter pass.
Fournette, I thought, kind of tailed off toward the end of the college season, but certainly he's a talent. And listen, I mean, we all hate to say it because we all hate Dallas here with good reason, but Ezekiel Elliott is a stud, right?
Yeah, he is.
And running behind that Dallas offensive line, if they stay healthy, it could spell bad news for teams like the Redskins that need to improve their run defense. If you play out the worst case scenario, for the rest of the NFC
Sure.
East, you have a healthy Tony Romo combined with a true power run game in Ezekiel Elliott, but he's not just a power back. He's also he's not just locked into the inside power game.
I mean,
it could be bad.
Dallas has a very good roster of running
Yeah,
backs.
plus they got more. Yeah, exactly. Morris.
If Alfred Morris is not even number one, or even number two, perhaps.
That goes to show you.
Yeah, right now he's third on their depth chart. I
Christian
hear.
McCaffrey,
So sad.
by the way, from Stanford.
That's who
okay.
it is.
Gotcha.
McCaffrey. He had like a video game like day in what was it, the Rose Bowl that they were.
He hit
in last year?
every move on the joystick.
Yeah,
Yeah, basically.
Dude's insane.
Nice.
I don't know if he can transition to NFL. A lot of people question whether he can or not, but the dude can make plays.
Well,
He's a bit fullbacky, NFL
He's
style.
6 foot 202.
wow.
But I'm just talking
That's
about
not a
his
lot
style.
of
Oh,
of
I
bulk
know,
running.
for
I know.
a running back.
Saying.
6 foot
Yeah.
202.
How much is? I mean, it's bigger than a lot of guys.
Well, think about
Bigger than a lot
who's
of
the running back from Alabama who just got drafted.
244
Yeah,
Henry.
Derrick Henry. I mean, he's like 240, 6'3", 240. That's about as big as you're going to get.
He
like
came in
Alfred
like
Morris
a
was like
wrecking
what?
ball.
Alfred Morris was what, 220 maybe?
Was he
Running
even
backs
that
are-
much? Wow, I thought he was lighter than that.
I think he was listed at something around there.
Wow, I
Smaller
thought he was
than
lighter
that
than
if you
that.
just look at him, but that's
Yeah.
what he was listed at.
Okay. All right. Well, sweet. Unless you guys have anything else on the death of the nose tackle,
Nope.
maybe we should move on to our poll, which leads really nice and smooth into our defensive back breakdown. So, Steve, what was our listener poll this week?
Listener poll it was this. Starters at safety are currently D'Angelo Hall and David Bruton Jr., who will be a surprise candidate to contribute at safety. Now, we got a whole bunch of responses. I'll just say off the bat for it's Craven. You guys left Craven off. I realize we left Craven's off. The point was here, let's identify some dark horse people who are going to surprise us to become contributors in light of the fact that we have D'Angelo Hall, David Bruton, and Sua Cravens are going to play. Who are the guys who are going to either come out of nowhere and play or, kind of beat the odds? And so that was the idea behind the poll. The candidates here were Duke Iheanacho, DeShazier Everett, Kaishawn Jarrett, who, given his medical problems, may be the ultimate dark horse, or other. So that was the candidate. So what are you guys' takes on this?
Well,
I mean,
okay, I was going to say, Duke is a guy that we know he can play well, but we can't ever see him do it with any consistency.
It's always hurt.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
can call him necessarily a dark horse.
Maybe not.
I guess you can.
he's a dark horse if he can be healthy for more than a game in a year.
Exactly. I think he's not necessarily, and maybe you guys correct me if I'm wrong, he doesn't seem like a dark horse to me in his ability. It's just his ability to stay healthy that's the question. But I think there's no doubt he's a decent player. He's certainly above average at the position, I think. I think he can contribute a lot if he can just stay on the fucking field for once. So that I guess that would be my answer if those were the options. Would be
I'm
A.
very skeptical of him, by the way.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
love
it makes
what I saw
total
from
sense
him
to
in
be.
camp last year. He looked like one of the best safeties out there. He was an emotional leader. He was very energetic, got the crowd into it. He was one of my favorite players in that camp
I
last
remember
year.
you saying that in your camp report.
But again, it's those injuries. You have to stay on the field to make an impact, and he's yet to prove he can do that. So until he's healthy, then I'm not even going to consider him as part of that rotation.
Has it been 2 years with him or 3?
2. It's
2
like 2.5
years?
years.
Yeah, 2 years, and he's been on IR. Did he even? He made it to what? 1 game last year or 2
I don't
games?
think he made one. I thought he got hurt during preseason.
Yeah, I don't remember him
Okay,
at
so
all.
he got hurt in preseason both times.
Yeah, see, this is it for him then. This is your season. This is your
Duke
opportunity.
played and started in 1 game last year.
I don't
Okay.
even remember that. Wow.
Me neither.
Yeah, see.
Well, Robbie, who'd you vote for
was
then,
Miami.
before we get too far off adrift into the position group?
I voted other and said Will Blackman.
Good call.
Wow, okay.
That's an interesting
Alex.
one. Nacho is I really like
I do
him.
too.
Just every time I see him play because he has that high motor, but that motor breaks down. He's a Jaguar,
Right,
A Jag.
right,
Well, let me say this about Will
No,
Blackman.
not Jag. He's like a Jaguar car.
Oh.
right,
Okay.
right.
Amazing
Not a Jaguar.
motor.
Yeah, I knew what you
Not a
meant.
tactical
Because Jaguar cars historically bad. Nice cars, terrible in maintenance.
Yeah.
Well, not terribly different than Jaguars, the football team, but that's a different
yeah,
point.
that's true. Kind of the same thing.
Hey, they're on a climb, man. If they're healthy, they're on a climb.
Robbie, your dog did not like that answer. Apparently,
I hate that dog.
I didn't vote in this. Alex? Did you say who you would have voted for?
I mean, of those, I didn't want to go other. I put Nacho in just because I don't like the other options.
Right.
I didn't vote.
None of them seem like they're going to be dark horses.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
didn't
Blackman I
vote
like,
mine.
but that seems like a stretch.
Well, I would have voted for Blackman.
Really?
You know, if I was
where,
gonna vote.
where are you
Well,
guys
it's because
coming from with that?
I don't have faith in Duke.
Yeah,
the
no, I
Duke-
understand
I
that.
hear what you're
And Jarrett's hurt.
Yeah, Jared has got a serious medical issue. I like DeShazer Everett, but I think Blackman is kind of the one with the history to suggest that he may come out
I'm just
of
not
nowhere.
high on
and-
Everett.
I'm not saying he's going to be a Pro Bowler. I'm saying he's going to be the guy to come out of nowhere and be more of a contributor than we expect at safety. That's what I'm saying. Well, here let's go over the results. See what the fans thought here.
Yeah,
and then
see,
we
that's
can get into
interesting.
the position group breakdown. 50% of the people voted for Duke. Nacho.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, 17%. We had a tie between Everett and Jarrett at 17%, and then a full 16% voted other, and a good number of the people who voted for other were thinking Cravens. I didn't put Cravens out there because he was going to run away with it. It'd be a 90% vote. It'd been a waste of a poll to have Cravens out there, frankly.
Yeah,
so,
That's a good point.
Agree.
and was this our best poll? No, people. Okay, but sue us. But they can all be winners. Okay.
We appreciate
It's not a
the,
terrible poll.
we appreciate the participation, though.
Yeah, we do. We do. So
Absolutely.
let's read a few comments. Let's see. Robbie Duncan chimed in. My dark horse is Blackman.
You can't participate in the user poll. What are you doing?
He
Skewing
actually-
the results.
Well, no, we're allowed to comment though.
Our friend,
I
Adam T. Berg, who I think we know.
Cool as crud.
Yeah, he voted for Cam Chancellor. As
What up,
most
CAC?
likely a joke.
Good one.
Yeah.
Cool as crud. Good one.
Yeah,
you got
T.
it.
Manuel said, I'm torn between Blackman and Everett. Love Will and know the team does too, but the Shazer showed a lot of promise, especially on special teams, which he's right.
Yeah.
Here's sort of I don't know who Dave voted for. He wrote, Cravens will be more of a hybrid and all over the field. Everett has good range and speed, but Blackman is really the guy to watch. So I guess he voted for Blackman. There's a vote for Blackman.
Okay.
Daryl Throne, he voted for Blackman. So there's a few of the comments.
Have you guys seen how big Will Blackman's gotten?
No, haven't
No.
seen it.
No.
He
Look
bulk up?
Look up pictures of him from OTAs. The dude has put on some muscle.
Well, probably because they told him
Interesting.
you're going to be a safety.
Yeah, and he seems to be fully embracing that because the dude is jacked.
You know, you guys know I'm not a big fan of Blackman in general, but I do give him a lot of credit that he is definitely one of those guys that if the team tells him to do something, he does it. It's for the good of the team.
It's for the good
you
of his
know.
career.
That too.
Well, that too.
You're going to get cut, Will, because we have too many corners. And so if you want to stay, we'd like to transition you to safety. Would you like to try it?
Right.
Yes, sir, I would.
We are 5 deep with starting corners right now. Someone needs to do something else.
It's called the Trent Murphy effect.
Right.
All right, you want to do our position group breakdown since we led
Yeah.
into this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're breaking down the defensive backs as
The
a whole,
Redskins
right?
Position
Yeah.
group breakdown.
So
Thank you for doing the audio that I'm going to just insert there, Steve.
Please do it much better than my crappy, small-time imitation.
we'll have
of it.
Kermit the Frog do it.
Yeah.
It's the Redskins position group breakdown.
So this is a hefty one, guys. Remind me again how we decided to do all the
You
defensive
can
backs.
thank Robbie
We're
for this.
stacked, man.
You can thank Robbie for this.
I wanted to consolidate, because really the secondary is very connected.
It's hard
true.
to it's hard to do them separately because we have so many guys who are versatile and who can do a lot of things. Will Blackman,
Hybrids, baby.
is an example.
Yeah.
How can you box Will Blackman into the cornerback position group breakdown when he's going to be spending time at receiver, or at safety, even though
He's playing receiver too.
he's very, very versatile. People.
He's going to play nose tackle too sometime.
So let's go ahead and just list off the rest of the guys we have on the roster in
Have
the,
at
the
it, man.
secondary.
All right.
We got, obviously Bashad Breeland. We got the undrafted corner Lloyd Carrington from Arizona State. And then we have Marielle Cooper from the Citadel, Quentin Dunbar, Kendall Fuller, Jeremy Harris from New Mexico State, Josh Norman, Deshaun Phillips.
Who's Josh Norman?
Oh,
CCU.
He's that dude from what's
Carolina,
that team
right?
called?
Oh, that best school in the world.
He's
I'm
that dude
forgetting
from
the
top
name.
10
Carolina
corners
Coastal,
list
the
that NFL.com just had.
2016 national champion Carolina Coastal.
Carolina Coastal.
Yeah.
I think you mean Coastal Carolina, you
Oh,
bastard.
sorry.
God.
I didn't care enough to get it right.
Disrespecting my. Jeez Louise. You know we've made it 2 years in a row to the round of 64 and then lost miserably both times, you bastard.
No, I didn't
NCAA.
know that. Neither did anyone else.
Starting to get on the map in basketball. Watch out for it. Coastal Carolina. Sorry. That was just a
We're
a
doing a
sidetrack.
position
Continue, Robbie.
breakdown, right? Sorry.
Yes. Sorry.
keep
So
going.
continue.
After Greg Toller's Will Blackman, then we got David Bruton Jr., Sewell
Bruton.
Cravens, DeShazer Everett, and D'Angelo Hall, Duke Ianacho, Kaishon Jarrett, and Gino Mattias Smith, undrafted free agent from Bama.
Well, can we start? Let's start with our starters and see what we think about our start. We've got starters at corner are going to be Josh Norman, Bashad Breeland.
Oh,
We
say
can hold
those two names again.
Josh Norman and Bashad Breeland. And I think that the
I need a
nickel
napkin,
corners,
guys.
the nickel corners up for debate, and then the starters at safety most certainly are going to be D'Angelo Hall and somebody. David Bruton. Is it really Bruton?
I think it's Bruton.
Bruton.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll
Like
go with
crouton.
Crouton. David Bruton and D'Angelo Hall are listed as the starters there. So those are our four starters. What do we think about those guys as starters? Robbie?
Bruton's a little bit of a surprise to me to be already the penciled starter.
It's not a
But-
surprise to me at all. You want to know why?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Because it always comes back to money and salary cap, okay? Now,
Yeah.
David Bruton, well, first of all, D'Angelo Hall has a 4-year contract that's, up in 2 years.
Right.
He's got a $5 million cap hit. Is it any surprise he's starting? No. Now, David Bruton signed this year. He's got a 3-year, $9 million contract, cap hit of $1.8 million. The only one who's even close to that other player is Duke, who's on his rookie rookie contract. Or, he's got 1 year left on his contract.
Tender, right?
Yeah,
not a rookie, 'cause
not
we
a rookie.
traded
Yeah,
for
sorry,
him
but
or
he had a
picked him
1 year
up in free
deal,
agency.
and so they've got $9.15 million invested in David Bruton. Nobody else is making significant money other than D'Angelo Hall. So is it any surprise at all that D Hall and Bruton are starting? No, because they clearly brought him in here to be a starter. They're paying him more than everybody
Right.
else. That's why David Bruton is starting, because Scott McLuhan thinks a lot of him. Yeah, he never started at all at Denver. He was a backup there for his entire career in Denver.
So are we going to pretend that it's just like the guy we got from Seattle the year before where he was a backup on a really good team?
Yeah.
No,
What
I think
could
we
possibly
pretend
go
that
wrong?
Scott McLuhan sees something in his abilities.
Well,
Sure.
that's what I was going to say. I'm hoping this isn't a repeat of Jerron Johnson from last year. I mean,
That's him, right, from Seattle?
Well, have you
Yeah.
watched tape
Yeah.
on him? What do
Yeah.
you think from an X's and O's standpoint?
He's a big special teams guy, so I don't know if he'll be playing a lot of special teams as a starter, but
Probably not.
he's a big special teams guy. A lot of people seem to say he's better than people think, that he actually could be a big surprise as a starting safety.
Well, I'll say this for a guy who was not a starter. It's hard to do stats for corners because there's so much else goes into the game, and I don't like. I
Right.
hate the advanced stats on corners because I think it's just more subjective than anything. So we're just going to ignore those. But what is concrete, is number of tackles, and he was a solid contributor during his entire time in Denver, considering he wasn't a starter. He had 31 tackles last year, for example, 22 in 2014, 19 in 2013. He consistently played more or less in every game for his entire career in Denver. So, I mean, he was not a starter, but he was a solid contributor who was playing behind some guys, some good players on a solid Denver defense.
By the way, why don't they keep better stats for corners?
Because what stats are you going to keep?
Completion percentage when
breakups.
they're covering and pass breakups.
Yeah, I mean, the pass breakup is, I probably should have pulled that. That's one stat I think is a good stat.
But I don't think that anyone keeps that officially.
No, it's not kept officially.
No,
Well,
of course they do.
because
They
it-
officially
Well, I
talk
don't
about
think
how
the
often
NFL
you were targeted and how often
Yeah,
the
but
receiver was.
that's like the ESPN analytics section doing that. I don't think that's an official stat kept by the NFL. The problem with the pass breakup thing is it's a subjective evaluation in some cases as to whether it's a bad pass,
Yeah.
whether the defensive back affected the play, did the wide receiver drop it, was the safety help over the top? Was that in effect? It's a subjective thing. It's not like, like Matt Jones ran for 3.4 yards per carry last year.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Right.
Concrete.
That is an objective stat. Pass breakups is a subjective stat inherently. That's why I'm not a huge fan of it. It's better than some, But
Yeah, I always have an issue with the fact that the NFL does such a terrible job with defensive stats.
It's just they're hard to come up with good stats. It's
Yeah.
like
I
baseball
know.
defensive stats in baseball.
I'm
hard-
surprised it's really that hard because look, a drop is a drop. That's not a pass breakup. I feel like a pass
Is it really,
breakup's
though?
pretty clear.
Is a drop really a
I
drop?
do understand what you mean that there's. It's definitely subjective at points. I agree completely, but I'm surprised. Just like you guys are saying, I'm echoing the same thing. I'm really surprised they don't keep that better because it doesn't seem. I don't know.
It would make it so much easier to gauge who the best are.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all.
Well, let's move
It makes total
to
sense.
D Hall. I mean,
Sorry.
D Hall is
Just a
D Hall is
tangent.
32, 33 now. He's been around for
500.
He's not well, yeah, 500. I mean, what does he have left, and how is he going to play at either free or strong safety?
Well, see, he was asked earlier, I think it was this week, maybe last week, but he was asked about, whether he's playing free safety or strong safety. But basically how they're schemed up, the way D. Hall explained it, is he's basically both. And so it will be David
Right.
Bruton or whoever the other starter ends up being.
Cravens or
Yeah.
whoever.
Basically, based on the the offensive formation or how they motion in and out of stuff, responsibilities flip. If the strength is to one side, then Bruton will come up, or on Bruton's side, then he'll come up and be the strong, and then D. Hall takes over the free responsibilities. It's interchangeable. So really, they're both just safeties.
They're doing the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, they're doing
Right.
the same thing basically.
No,
Let's-
well, but I mean, if we're going to be in a cover 3 base,
Which we are.
which we are, one of them is going to spend more time at free safety than the other. Because it's not like cover 2 where both safeties are doing the same job, and then you just slide the coverage depending on the offensive formation. In a cover 3, the free safety is going to be playing the back portion of the field.
Well,
You know.
looking at the measurements, at least between the two of them, D. Hall is only 5'10".
Yeah.
Bruton is 6'2".
Right.
I mean, obviously D. Hall has been historically a very fast athlete, one of the fastest to play, that kind of
A
thing.
very good tackler too.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
So-
good tackler.
I mean,
Definitely.
I'd like to see him play back and deep, as the deep safety. But from what they've been saying, at least with OTA so far, how they've lined up is Bruton is has been the deep safety.
And part of this is it's going to be situational, I assume, because with having Cravens being this weird hybrid role, you're going to be moving guys in and out of the lineup depending on what down in distance it is. A lot more at safety with this team than you might see with other teams.
Yeah.
I think that's just my guess,
Yeah.
but it makes a lot of sense to say, all right, we're in this kind of situation, putting Cravens over D Hall or putting Cravens over whoever's playing strong safety.
Right.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, they're going to have to play it by ear, in terms of who to play in what situation. I was just going to say, let's be honest about D. Hall for a second, because you're right. At his prime, he was, I think you guys are totally right. He's like one of the fastest to play the position. He's still got good speed considering. But let's talk about his downsides, too. You can cross D. Hall up pretty easily. If you pull a nice double move or triple move or something, I mean, you can leave him kind of in the dust. He's got good instincts. He's got good, solid coverage. He's a good, solid player. But I'm not really ready to say he's going to be anything other than average as a free safety for us, considering age and that it's a new position.
Yeah.
It's not a new
But
position.
I don't
but
think we need him to be anything other than average. 'Cause
Exactly.
It's you got to take a long-term look at the whole safety position.
Exactly. And
yeah,
I would just
it-
imagine that we're going to see Bruton playing more of that role than
Well,
D.
in
Hall
terms of him
would.
getting crossed up on the double moves, I don't think he was ever. I think
That
it was a
wasn't
much
ever his strong suit.
Yeah, and I think it was a much better zone
Mm-hmm.
corner than he ever was a man cover because his
Yes.
instincts are ball hawking instincts, and you can't do that as a
Right.
man corner to the extent you can as a zone corner.
Yeah.
And I think that's his greatest strength, and I think it still is his greatest strength. The guy is got very good ball hawking instincts. He's got a nose for the ball, and he has good hands. The stat I noticed of him. First of all, remember he was a first-round draft pick, top of the draft. He's one of these guys that lived up to his draft status.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
been to multiple Pro
Right.
Bowls. He's got 43 interceptions on his career, and this is going
Beautiful.
into his 12th year here. He's
been the team
yeah,
leader
he's been in
ever
he's
now.
been in he's got 615 total tackles. He's been averaging between 50 and 65 tackles a year his entire career. But I think you have to, if you're going to use him properly, I think you have to put him in a position where he can still be a ball hawk. And so I think to me he's more suitable to be a free safety than a strong safety, simply because as a free safety he can still jump those routes.
And if we're playing cover 3, he's dropping into zone all the
Yeah,
time.
exactly right. So I personally think he's more suited to be a free safety, and because he's smaller, I think you have a David Bruton who may be more of a bruiser up front in the run game, from a strong safety position, or a Sua Cravens up there as a strong safety.
Well, yeah, and see, I was thinking Bruton for the deep safety because of his height. He can, reach higher.
Jump up.
He can reach higher in the air to defend a pass more than a 5'10" player could. But with D Hall, he probably has more range than I assume he has more range than Bruton.
Probably
even at his age.
Yeah.
At this point, but
And his birthday's in November, by the way, so he's 32, turning 33 during this coming year.
let's look at some of these, back of the roster type guys. I mean, we after Breland and Norman, we got Jeremy, not Jeremy Harris. Sorry, names are blending together here. Kendall Fuller and Quentin Dunbar. I think we can all safely assume are the next top guys after that, and a bit of competition.
They're your nickel and dime.
Well, Dunbar's has become a fan favorite. I think it's a favorite. He's a favorite for us on this show. We've talked a lot about him simply because of his story. The truth is he has a lot to learn still, but he's intelligent enough to where he's kind of getting it. If I were Quentin Dunbar, I think I'd be aiming to be the long-term nickel corner.
See, I don't know about him being a nickel. I mean, I think he's done it some, but
it's a tough position to play. I'm saying that's from a role on the team standpoint. I think long-term, that's what he can hope for.
Yeah, that and like the next guy in on the outside.
Yeah.
Should Norman or
He's
Breland.
not going to start over Norman.
Not a nickel slot guy, but a nickel.
I think the fear
third
for
guy.
me is, if Breland wants a ton of money, whether we're going to pay it. Do we have a shot at losing Breland once he becomes an unrestricted free agent?
Don't let it happen.
Yeah, well, because, again, it comes down to numbers here. Let's talk numbers real fast. Josh Norman has the huge
Big money
contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a $75 million contract, 5 years. And just remember, though, that this deal becomes more friendly as the years go on. His cap hit peaks in year 3, and then it descends in year 4 and 5, and so it's set up as a deal where we could legitimately keep him for 5 years if the team wants. This is not a case where it's a 5-year deal, but it's really a 3-year deal. You hear analysts talk about that. That's not this. This is a deal where it's designed to be a true 5-year deal if his performance keeps up. Because it becomes more friendly as time goes on. But anyway, he's got a $5 million base, $8 million cap hit this year. There is no one else in the cornerback stable who even has over $1 million in a cap hit this year. So Norman is the guy.
But when does Breland's contract come up?
Breland's contract, it expires at the end of 2017. Okay. And so they could negotiate an extension for him after this coming season.
Which I think that they should try to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they could afford to have one more guy with starter money.
And you've got to give it to him. Josh Norman cannot be the only above average
I think
back.
Breland is a guy who thinks enough of himself. Not faulting him for it. He should think enough of himself.
Right.
I wonder if he's a guy who may be a guy who holds out in the negotiations for more money and forces us to tag him.
I think that's likely, or at least very possible.
There is a risk of that.
Yeah.
Everything you read from him makes it seem like he wants to be the big paid number one guy.
And with Josh Norman here, he's not going to be that.
No. Well, I mean, we can pay him enough where he stops caring about it at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
There's a middle ground there.
Josh, from numbers wise, Josh Norman's first year is 2012. He started 12 games that year. I don't know if he was hurt in 2013. Somebody rumors that he only played in 7 games. Didn't start any of them. Started 10 of 14 games in 2015. 2015 is the first year he started all 16 games.
And his best statistical season.
Yeah, he's not a big ball hawk. He only has 7 interceptions in his career. He's a between 40 and 50 tackle a year guy. That's what sort of his history suggests. So he's a guy he's only a 5th round draft pick. So he didn't have the pedigree, as like a D Hall. He's a guy who's built up his career slowly over time and has become an elite player.
I mean, let's just say it's hard to get a lot of national attention and accolades when you're playing in the Big South Conference for Coastal Carolina. You're playing a major team only once a year. You're just not really on the map. I don't hold the 5th round thing against him because it's hard. It's hard coming from.
I'm not holding it against him. I'm just saying he wasn't a heralded player coming into the league. And then you play at Carolina, which certainly back in 2012 wasn't a major media center.
Right.
Still isn't.
That was the year they got Cam Newton, I think.
Yeah, and the strength on defense is up front in the front 7. So he's that guy who's had to build up to the attention he's gotten.
Yeah.
And like we said before, he's not going to stop fighting either. He has this. He still has this big chip on his shoulder. He wants to continuously prove himself.
And it must be said that the reports out of OTAs have been very positive from everything I've read. The team says, they say he's a real worker. Yeah, I think he's thus far in these early weeks has lived up to what we hoped so far.
Yep. God, I hope that when the season starts, he can just keep his fucking head on his shoulders and not go swinging at Odell Beckham or some stupid shit.
That does seem like it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
If that transitions over to this season.
I'm perfectly fine with him trash talking with him and getting under his under his skin. I mean, but let Odell be the one throwing the punches. Don't
do not reciprocate.
Right. Yeah, just let him do his thing and get kicked out or fined or penalized, whatever. Just be the instigator and not a participator.
Yeah, I think this signing is going to. I'll make a bold prediction here with regard to Josh Norman. I think the Josh Norman signing is going to be the most successful free agent signing the Redskins have had since London Fletcher.
God, I hope you're right, man.
I think his skill set fits perfectly with what Joe Barry wants to do. I think his strength as a cover 3 zone coverage corner is going to be perfect. I think from a situational standpoint, the Redskins are a perfect team for him. He's near home. He likes the players here. His family is behind him. He's got a solid number 2 right now in Breeland.
The team's been very good to him.
Yeah. And so, the opposing offenses can't shade to one side or the other. I think Josh Norman is going to have the most success of any player we've signed here since London Fletcher.
Wow.
When I look at our corners in general, this could potentially be the best depth we've had at corner since that, and I hate to bring the name up, the Darrell Green, Deion Sanders, Champ Bailey, Fred Smoot, quadra, I don't know what you would call that, foursome.
It's over 10 years ago now. Can you believe that?
Yeah, that was like 2002.
You may be right. I mean, on paper, you're right. Deion Sanders proved to be not what he was, but yes, I agree with you.
Besides that, the best group of corners we had was when what's his name? Oh my God, Carlos Rogers and
Champ.
No, not Champ. It was
it was Carlos, Fred Smoot, Sean
Springs. Thank you.
Yeah.
They were actually pretty solid.
I think Josh Norman's better than all those guys.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, he's not better than Darrell Green.
No. I'm talking about the second group that Robbie brought up.
Yeah. And this is why you have to lock Breeland in. You cannot leave Josh Norman as the one sole.
I agree with you. I think the team's going to try. I just wonder
they've got to.
What's going to happen if Breeland is going to want more money than the
give him that tag, man.
And Breeland, statistically, Breeland has produced, man. Listen to what Breeland's done.
Yeah, he has.
I mean,
it's a crime that he wasn't in the Pro Bowl.
He's played in 31 of 32 games over his 2 years here. Started 28 games, 59 tackles. With 33 of those assisted total. He's not a ball hawk. He's only had 4 interceptions. And so we've got neither of those.
No, he just locks guys down, man.
Yeah,
that's all
exactly
he does.
Right. So I mean, remember he was only a 4th round pick. He came from Clemson, which while it's a D1 program, it's not a major power.
It is now.
It is now, but it wasn't back then. This is a guy who is far, far exceeded expectations.
He's a self-made man.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's got that swagger that you really want in a corner.
I mean,
He
sorry, you guys.
if you had
you guys
two
saw
of those, that'd be amazing.
you guys saw the thing from Daryl Green issuing a challenge to Breland, and
I did.
and Breland accepted it and even said he's gonna be greater than Daryl Green or something.
And you have
like
to
that.
have arrogance as a corner. You really do, because I played at a low level, right? And you really have to have a short memory, and you have to have a real belief in yourself, because you're alone, man. Out there, you are alone on an island, and you're going to get beat no matter what. Daryl Green got beat, Deion Sanders got beat sometimes. Sure. Everybody gets beat, and if you let it get to you, it's just going to ruin your game. You have to have enough arrogance out there to believe that you're going to come back the very next play and shut the guy down. That's the mentality you have to have as a corner, and Bashaud Breeland has that in spades. This dude has the utmost confidence in his own abilities.
Not just the ability to come back on the next play. Even when the guy makes the catch, you have to have that mental ability to be like, well, now I got to get this guy to the ground as
He's
fast
not
as
intimidated
possible.
by having to face Odell Beckham and Des Bryant.
No.
He welcomes the challenge.
Yeah.
No, and that's why I'm saying I think this might be the greatest cornerback corpse we've had.
It's not a corpse.
In
Core.
core. Sorry,
A corpse would be somebody who's dead.
Yeah, a dead body. Yeah,
Corpse was the cornerback.
Cornerback core.
Yeah.
I think we ought to address some of the other folks we have here. We've forgotten Greg Toller, right? Greg Toller has been. They only signed him to a 1-year deal, min money. But he's been productive. He's been a productive player. In Indianapolis and Arizona before that. This is a dude who's got 239 tackles over 6 seasons. 8 interceptions. He's started 47 games in his career. He had 6.
I think he was starting last year.
Yeah, he started 10. He must have been injured. He started 10 of 10 games. Played in 10, started in 10 games. He had 65 tackles in 2014. I think he's not a superstar, but I think he's a guy who could come off the bench and be a solid contributor. At corner.
Here's my question. I can't remember, but how many on average do you keep on your roster at corner?
5 or 6, depending
Five?
on the setup.
Well, okay, so then it would be Norman, Breland, Dunbar, Fuller, and Toller, assumingly.
That's 5. Yeah, and so are some of these guys, like you mentioned, Lloyd Carrington. Is he going to come out of nowhere to surprise some people?
Unlikely.
I mean, there's always a chance that we have.
You're
a
forgetting
guy
about
like that.
DeShazier Everett. DeShazier Everett showed some. He may be more of a safety.
Yeah, he's listed as a safety, so I think he has a good chance of making it there.
They signed Jeremy Harris to a 3-year contract last year. Is he going to be a guy who can come out of nowhere? The odds are stacked against him, for sure. Because the 3 locks, no matter what, Norman, Breland, and Fuller, those guys, no matter what happens, will be on the roster. You'd have to think they like Quentin Dunbar enough that he's going to be back probably no matter what. And then the rest of them are I think if somebody beats out Toller, they could cut him. He's only on a 1-year contract. Sure. Will Blackman, maybe he's more of a safety now. And so I guess what you're talking about really here is, can Lloyd Carrington, Jeremy Harris, or Deshaun Phillips, we didn't mention him, beat out Greg Toller for the 5th corner spot? That's the question.
It's possible.
Maybe, but
Unlikely, but possible. One of those guys, Carrington, may be a practice squad candidate if they like him.
It's like a boxing match. You're fighting the champ. You have to actually outperform the champ to get the decision.
Sure.
So, Toller's the experienced vet. He's been there for a long time. He's, like we've said, he's performed pretty decently throughout his career. So that's going to be hard to beat out as an undrafted guy.
And I'll just tell you about Carrington. If you look at his background from Arizona State, he didn't even start playing football till high school. And so he's not experienced. He's a developmental guy. He has a lot to learn in terms of technique at a high level. I think he's a perfect practice squad candidate. I don't think he's probably a realistic candidate to beat out an experienced vet like Greg Toller. So I think you're going to see Carrington probably on the practice squad more than anything.
One more thought real quick. Fuller. Are we hearing that he's healthier and back kind of ahead of schedule? Is that right?
He was in full participation for the OTAs.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a steal there because
Took us
he
for-
was talked about as a first rounder potentially.
Well, yeah, I wonder if there's some hometown boost of Kendall Fuller's abilities. You know,
Maybe.
just because
Well, there
we're
might
a
be.
Redskins show, you know, we pay more attention to Unhold, to Virginia Tech than, you know, than if we were based in another part of the country.
Right.
I'm not trying to downgrade Kendall Fuller. You know, honestly, I didn't watch much of him in college. I wonder, though, if fans are more excited about him than they would be simply because he's from Virginia Tech.
No.
And he has brothers in the NFL.
Yeah, I
No?
think you have to look at the pedigree is there. I mean,
Yeah.
his family is very talented, very successful. You know, they tons of guys in the
4
NFL.
NFL cornerbacks.
The thing I've seen a decent number of comparisons of his play to Asante Samuel, if you remember him. Same type of corner, you know, gutsy, you know, risk-taking zone corner who gets a lot of picks.
Well, let's stop you right there because I think you just said something important. Because what we just talked about is that neither Josh Norman nor Bashaud Breeland are really ball hawking, you know, guys who are going to get a lot of interceptions. Fuller, from what I can tell, is a gambler. He's a risk taker, like you said. He's going to go for interceptions. He's maybe a perfect zone corner. Maybe he's the guy they're banking on to go get, you know, some of those interceptions that we're probably not going to get too many of from Norman or Breeland.
Yeah, and
It makes sense.
and measurables wise, they're pretty much the same player. I mean, Asante Samuel is 5'10", 185. Fuller is just an inch taller.
Yeah,
Where is he?
he's 5'11", 187.
5'11", 196, or on Redskins roster. It says
Okay, what I
196.
was looking at was the combine report, so I'll trust the Redskins roster.
Yeah. So yeah, they're pretty much exactly the same. Just by 10 pounds heavier, basically.
I mean, his question is his ACL. You know, his ACL tear was last season, at the end of the 2014 season. Is that right? And so Did he sat out all of last season? Does somebody know?
I don't watch Virginia Tech, so
Yeah.
no.
I don't
Okay,
know
well,
that.
point is he's about a year or so removed, right? More or less. And so the question is, does he have his athletic burst back? Does he have his ability to cut back? That's very important
Sure.
for a DB. You
He
know,
seems to.
yeah. I mean, so far reports are good, but we'll never know until we see him with pads on, you know, on the field.
Which, fingers crossed, will be there on the sideline for.
Hopefully,
Yes.
listen up, Redskins PR. We need to be there.
Write a letter to your senator and say the
Send
Hawks
Deadeye
Dynamics to
Duncan
go.
to training camp.
Yeah,
there
Yeah.
you go.
there you go.
So that is corners. You know, I think we need to probably ought to spend more time on the back of the roster at safeties real fast. We didn't really do that.
Yeah.
I think the big question is what is Sua Cravens going to do? I still hold out my fear that we've drafted a player in the second round who's not going to be a starter, and therefore is not going to play enough to justify a second round pick. That's my fear for Cravens.
No, see, that's the same thing we did with Preston Smith last year. He wasn't a starter, but he came in and made a lot of plays with the chances that he got. I think.
Well, it's like
we're
I
gonna
know
have
this tweener thing. I mean, I know it's the future, but it just, I don't know. It makes me nervous. You know, can the tweeners really be productive?
So are you saying you don't
Well,
see him very much playing as a linebacker, and you see him more?
I'm just raising the question.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just
that's a
raising
fair
my
question.
Concern. I think he's too small to be a regular linebacker.
At this
Okay.
point, yes.
Yes.
He could
Yeah.
stand to put on some more weight, but the thing is, to justify the pick of him, all you got to do is go back and watch his film. The dude is a smart, instinctive football player. He's tough. He makes solid tackles. He's very technical with his tackles. He's not, just big hits and falling off of guys. He wraps people up. And he's going to make plays wherever you put him, whether it's like outside linebacker, inside linebacker, strong safety, nickel. I mean, he's lined up at nickel a couple times too at USC. I mean, he can pretty much do anything you ask him to.
It'd be so nice if he could put up some solid play at inside linebacker. That would be nice.
Yeah.
And
To me, I'm more excited about the future with him than a lot of our guys. Because to me, if Jarrett comes back healthy next year, and I'm basically writing him off this year.
Yeah.
It sounds like his injury's bad
Yeah,
enough.
we don't know what's going to happen with him.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. I'm hoping he can be back healthy next year. And suddenly we have two guys who are these weird safety hybrid-y types. One's more of a linebacker, one's more of a corner. The ability to get both those guys on the field and you don't know where they're going to be lining up all the time is going to drive some offensive nuts.
Well, let's just also
Yeah.
say that with wearing a safety number, he can't line
Yeah.
up too much as an inside linebacker because NFL rules prohibit him just playing as an inside linebacker with a safety number all the time.
That's the thing that never makes sense to me. It's like, well, who's to say where we're lining up our safety?
Yeah.
Well,
You
that's
know?
that's
Like,
why
what
he's
if we want to run the 4-6?
that's why he's listed as a safety, not a linebacker, because it is
Right.
more versatile.
Yeah.
You know.
I said
I-
that back when we drafted him.
Yeah,
Or
you
when-
did. And listen, I think he's going to be a good player. Everybody, don't misunderstand me. It's just my concern. If he doesn't live up to the hype, do we have a guy who's basically a backup and he's going to be too small to be a linebacker, and what's going to happen to him? He does have. He's another guy who's got the NFL family. By the way, he's a cousin of Jordan Cameron. He's a cousin of Manti Te'o, of Fake Girlfriend fame. He's related to David Fulcher, who was with the Bengals. So he does have, he had
pedigree.
he had the high school where he was a 5-star recruit out of high school.
Recruited by Joe Barry.
Yeah, recruited by Joe Barry. So he's a guy who's, who has kind of all the signs that he's going to be good,
And based off of his social media, seems like a fun dude.
The
Yeah,
dude,
he's-
he is an entertaining guy to follow.
Yeah, he's definitely a trip.
Yeah.
Let's talk about safety salary cap real fast before we wrap this up. And we'll just say real quick, the guys like Geno, Matthias Smith, Tevin Carter, Mario Cooper, these are guys who are fighting for probably
Practice squad.
Yeah, practice squad types.
Yeah.
If we're going to keep, say, 4 safeties, maybe, 5 corners, 4 safeties probably at most. You're looking at, obviously, D. Hall, Bruton, Sua Cravens are the locks. And
Yep.
then
Right.
if Kayshawn Jarrett can't play, I think that opens up a spot for one of these guys, Cooper, Smith, or
Well,
Carter.
isn't that naturally Will
or
Blackman then? Probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's kind of the setup.
Yeah.
So from a salary cap perspective, this is under the rule of 51, mind you. It's going to change when the regular season happens. But we spent 6% of the cap on DB on corners, 6% of the cap on safeties, and so if the
I'm surprised that we're that low on corner.
well, it's because
with that massive
it's
Norman
because nobody
contract.
else but Norman
He's the only one,
Norman and D Hall have big numbers, and Bruton, who's at Bruton had 3.4 million guaranteed, but his cap hit was only 1.8. So the only 2 guys out of all these people that have big cap hits at all
those
are
two.
Norman and Hall.
Yeah.
D Hall has $5 million cap hit, and Norman has an $8 million. Everybody else is under $1 million except for Bruton and Duke. So we're not spending a lot of money on all these other guys, And so from a total from the all DBs, we finished up the all of the defense on our position group breakdowns now. So do you guys want to hear salary cap stuff for the whole defense, or you want me
Sure.
to save that? Okay.
Let's
sure.
do a quick overview.
Yeah, a quick one. Okay.
Quickie.
36% of this total salary cap spent on defense.
Okay.
And that's it. So we have 68 million total, 68.5 million in cap hits this year on defense. We spent 11.1% on defensive line. We spent 12% total on all linebackers put together, and we spent 13% on all DBs put together. So that is a real brief cap overview.
So that sounds about even spending wise.
It's about even between each major position group. What's stuck out for me is that it's 36% of the cap on defense means we spend a whole lot more on offense.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that later. We won't go over that now, but
Yeah,
we
yeah.
spend a lot more money on offense than we have on defense.
I wonder how that compares to the rest of the NFL these days, because that sounds astoundingly low, 36%.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does to me too. And
Well,
I
we've
don't have
drafted
that.
a lot recently too.
Yeah, we have.
That's true. With the new rookie salary structure.
And we have a lot of
that probably
veteran
plays into it.
guys who are making a lot of money on offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Pierre.
Yeah. Looking at you, PG.
And Trent.
And
and Trent.
Jordan Reed now too.
Jordan Reed.
Jordan Reed.
T-Jax.
And Kirk Cousins. And
And wait a minute, guys. I'm noticing a pattern here. It's everybody.
We'll get to tell you what. We'll get to offense later. I just wanted to give everybody a brief
Yeah.
overview. 36% of the cap is split out basically equally between the defensive line, linebackers, and DBs.
Sure.
That's the cap situation.
I actually find that quite encouraging.
yeah.
So good for us.
I find our depth
They
encouraging.
brought
that's
in a
the-
lot
that's
of
the thing,
guys
man.
on defense that somebody's going to step. One of these young guys, a couple of these young guys are going to step up and be players, and we're not expecting him to be so. And there's room for them to make the team.
I'm very excited about the future with the amount of young talent we have right now.
They need to improve
Oh,
the
yeah.
run defense, or else it's
And
all
our
going to be
running
for
game in
naught.
general.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
on defense. So if
defensively,
our
yeah,
run
yeah.
defense doesn't get better, all this is for naught. And we didn't bring in a big name run stopper. We're kind of banking on some of these guys to step up,
Yeah.
and that may or may not happen. Yeah, we may suck at run defense again for another year. It's possible.
possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
We'll be good against that pass,
If we
though.
suddenly start holding people to 100 yards a game passing, I don't care.
Yeah, see? That'd almost be
I
worth it.
care. I mean, if we're running for 200 yards a game against us, they don't need to pass too much.
Yeah.
True.
You're definitely losing that game if they're rushing that much on you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no
yeah.
doubt.
Well, anyways, I find all that pretty encouraging. And in other encouraging news, the bubble's back, guys.
Yay, the bubble's
Yay.
back.
Last time we saw the bubble, it was sitting in a dumpster looking like Tom Brady just got done with it. And now it's back and beautiful for our new players.
I would like to
practicing,
think
guys.
that the Hogsty had something to do with the fact that the bubble's reinflated.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it
I
bursting.
mean, I was in Virginia, blowing all last weekend. So
I just meant, we brought it up on the show and
Phrasing,
magically-
Alex.
we brought it up on the show and magically a week later it's inflated again. I think the Redskins
Back.
are listening to us. They realized what we said.
Send us
Right.
to camp.
That's
Yeah.
right.
right, it has nothing to do with the fact that they already bought it. They just hadn't gotten around to building
They realized when we brought it up that they had forgotten about it, and they said the Hogsty mentioned this. We need to do it. That's what happened.
Right.
I'm
That's
convinced.
right. We put the pressure on, guys. That's what we do here. Well, at least it's back. I mean,
Thank God.
thank God. Thank God we got
Maybe
a nice
they can
bubble
bring
for everybody
in
to practice
2 portable toilets instead of 1 to put it in the bubble.
with. Yeah, exactly. All right, well,
and an extra large one for the line.
They need to get the extra large porta potty. I don't know how you put offensive linemen in a porta potty. I mean, how does that work?
it's a double wide.
Physically,
You don't sit all the way down.
Yeah,
You just hope and pray that
you just hope.
it's like the crane game.
You just, yeah.
Crane game.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you-
Guys, we flew off the handle.
I
the last 10
I
seconds
wasn't
here.
even getting to that point. It's like, how do you fit in the door with full offensive tackle and full pads? How does that? How do you
step in
get?
sideways.
yeah.
Yeah.
That
I
would
don't
be
know.
it. I don't know if they could even fit sideways.
Yeah, some of these guys. Christ. Well, anyways, unless you guys have anything, any other news that we forgot to get to, any other big things that we want to call out, anything in the NFL in general, I should say.
Nah.
Nothing big. It was kind of a slow news week. Let's be honest. Not a whole lot happened
June
in the
was a
Redskins
slow
world.
month. June
Yeah.
was a slow month. in
It
the
was
NFL.
so
slow.
bad that even the Post was making up bullshit RG3 stories to write about. So
Then nothing will ever
Yeah.
stem the tide of bullshit RG3 stories
No.
coming from the fucking Post, guys. I'm so tired of it. So tired
Yep.
of it.
Leave the guy alone.
For the
I'm
love
so
of God.
tired of. I'm just
Let
very
him die.
tired of people bashing the guy. Still, I just don't understand how the hatred got
Move
so
on. Yeah.
so deep for Robert Griffin. What did he deserve to be so vilified? I don't
Liz Clark, I
understand it.
generally like what she writes, but she just, I don't know why she even bothered with it. Anyway,
Yeah, let
Yeah.
him go. Let him go in
Yep.
peace.
Yeah.
let him go and let's let us go.
Yeah, amen to that. We'll let you guys go too, you at home. Go back to your lives, do something nice outside. It's a beautiful day. We have, by the way, a little teaser for coming soon. Maybe next time, maybe the time after that, we will see. But we have an awesome game to play. It's really fun. It's called Gridirons and Griffins. It's a spin-off of Dungeons and Dragons with a football theme, and that sounds really nerdy, but you got to trust us on this.
Sounds
it is
very nerdy, Sean.
hilarious. It is
gonna be awesome.
so funny. It's going to be awesome. So we got that coming down
I'm
the
not
pipeline.
gonna hold my breath that I'm gonna be so excited about playing Dungeons and
Yeah.
Dragons.
Nah, Steve, go poo-poo somewhere else.
Bucket list.
We got that in the pipeline. We got interviews in the pipeline. Won't give it away, but we got a cool one potentially coming up next week, so we'll do that. And yeah, more to come as we plow through the off season here. We are rapidly approaching the season again, so that'll be exciting. Been a pleasure.
Past halfway point.
Yeah, halfway point. There you go. So been a pleasure. We'll see you guys next time, right on here on the Hogsty.
Bye-bye.
Yay.